All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good morning, Robert. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Robert Reed accepted our invitation to the show. Robert, welcome to the show.
Welcome to you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Rob, let's go back to the beginning of your life. Were you born like in a musical family? How old were you when you perhaps began taking, I don't know, guitar lesson, piano lesson?
Yeah, I wasn't born in a particularly musical family. My mother played the piano and stuff, so there was a piano in the house, and I just loved the sound of a piano, really. And one of the first records I heard when I was young was David Bowie, "Life on Mars," and the piano part now was incredible, and I loved it. And I didn't know it was Rick Wakeman playing the piano part on there.
Yep.
But as a young kid, I just loved this piano play, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I started piano lessons at a very young age. Did it. Didn't practice enough. I got bored, But then I got into rock and roll, and I loved all the sort of prog bands. And when I heard Tubular Bells by Mike OLDFIELD, that sort of really switched me on to learning to play all the instruments, really. So guitars, bass, and keyboards. I loved the idea that one person could multi-track and make a record. So from Rick Wakeman's piano and Mike OLDFIELD's playing all the instruments, that got me into doing music, really. And since then, that's all I've done, really. That's all I can do, really. I'm rubbish at anything else. So it's music all the way.
Right. Good for you. When you were like in high school, 15, 16, were you able to buy some record? Were you going out to some clubs with your buddies and during the weekend to listen to some music? Or
where I live in sort of I don't really live near the center of much going on, really. It's out in the countryside, so there was never loads of clubs and bands would tour sometimes in the local university, but I wouldn't really go to see many bands. But I would always buy these records. It was a local record store, and in school we put a band together in school, basically. We were all into prog. We all loved Genesis and Yes. Mm-hmm. So, about 14 or 15, we put a band together, and every night we go and rehearse and started writing songs. And bizarrely, the first band I was in was Cyan. We called it Cyan, and we wrote like 4 tracks, and we put all our money together to go into the studio, made a demo, and those 4 songs are on the new Cyan album. I've relaunched Cyan like 30 years later, but they were the original. I wrote all that when I was in school in this band. Wow. And it kept me on the straight and narrow as well. So it was a bit of a rough area where I lived, but we were just doing music. That's all I knew. So every night we would get together, listen to records, rehearse, and dream of being in a prog band, and that was my youth, really.
Yeah. And eventually you finished. That's a great story. Eventually you finished high school, right? You knew back then that you want to be a musician, or any pressure for your parents? Forget about music. You're not going to make any money. Go to school and get a decent job. And
no, which is great. They could see that was all I thought about 24/7. And I had a few jobs for a couple of years, working in a library and stuff. Easy jobs, where I could just skive and not do any work. And then I go out and rehearse in the night and write. But then I got into doing working with a composer that was doing TV music and film music. So I learned from him, and I stopped doing normal jobs and worked for this composer doing TV music. And I did that for like about 20 years. And that allowed me, no, it was less than that, it was about 10 years I did it. And it allowed me to earn a lot of money so I could buy all the gear and he had a great recording studio. So I was learning how to work the mixing desk and everything. And I was writing the music with him for these TV programs. And it allowed me then to do that in the day. And then I could do my music in a band. So that's all I've known, really, to be honest, since for the last 30 years is just doing music 24/7 in some shape or form. So I'm really lucky.
Good for you, man. My understanding, I read somewhere that the 4-track studio recording that you did, you end up sending that to different record labels, like in Scotland and England and several countries, and eventually somebody got back to you and say, "Hey, we like that stuff," and you say, "Well, we had a bunch of kids that we did that, during the summer. Feel free to elaborate on how that happened."
That was exactly it. We made this demo on a 4-track basic studio, but it was lovely. Being in a studio was amazing. It was like, God, we sound a little bit like Genesis. This is incredible. So we made this demo on a cassette, and I sent it to a few people I knew and forgot about it. And then about a couple of months later, I had a letter back from Nick Barrett from Pendragon.
Wow.
And he'd heard it and loved it. He said, "Oh, this is amazing. I'll pass it on to a record label in Holland called SI Music." And they came back and said, "Yeah, we want an album's worth of stuff. This is brilliant." And I had to say, I said, "Well, that was like, we've all left school. They've all moved away. It's just me." So I made the record on my own with like a drum machine, and I sang it. I played all the instruments on it because of my fascination with Mike OLDFIELD, playing all the instruments. And I made the first record, and it did really well. And then we made a second one, and this was Cyan. And I made 3 records alongside doing all my TV and film music. And what the biggest catalyst was, like, I was doing the film music, earning a lot of money doing that. And the sort of Cyan was a bit of a hobby. And it was like, I like doing it. But in the meantime, me and the girl singer from Magenta, I'd met her and we'd formed like a pop band. And we were trying to be like a pop stars. We were trying to get, a mainstream record deal. And we spent 10 years doing that. So I was doing Cyan as a hobby, TV and film music, and then my main goal was to be like a pop star and to do this pop music with Christina, the singer from Magenta. And we did it for 10 years, and it nearly killed us because it's such a cutthroat business, and we were being let down. We would have terrible managers, record deals would be offered to us, and then the record company would go bust. So in the end, we said, no more of doing this pop star nonsense. And I said, look, let's form a prog band. I said, look, let's do it, and we'll do it properly. We'll get Christina to sing, and that was Magenta. And we made this record, and everybody fell in love with it. And that was Magenta.
Yeah. Christina has an unbelievable voice. I have listened to, I listened to, as I was preparing for the interview, most of your album, and I saw some YouTube videos. She's a very nice, humble, and unbelievable lady. Remind me a lot of Annie Haslam of Renaissance.
Well, that was it. When we started when we started Magenta, that was my blueprint, because I'm a massive fan of Renaissance. I like the way they mix classical music with the female voice. So I said to Tina, I said, look, let's make this prog band called Magenta. Let's do it. Let's make it the most proggiest we can. Let's make a double album, a concept album, 20-minute songs. And when we did that, which was like 20 years ago, prog was a dirty word. It was a swear word. Nobody wanted to be prog. And a lot of the big bands now who say we are prog, they didn't want to be prog. 20 years ago, in the late 90s, nobody wanted to be prog. And we were like, I'm going to make the most prog album I can. I'm going to say I am prog with a capital P. And we did it. And Tina had no idea that she sounded like Annie Haslam. I knew it. I knew it. I could hear it. Oh, God, she does sound like Annie, which was like really strange. But we made the record and everyone was like, oh my God, it sounds like Renaissance. And Tina was like, well, I've never heard Annie Haslam. Who is she? But then we we became friends with her then, which is bizarre because she heard the record and we ended up making a record with her.
Yeah.
But it was really it was just a really lucky moment when we did Magenta back at it was about 2000. You know, we made it, and it was no one else would making prog like that, and we did, especially with a female singer, because Renaissance was back in the 70s, and it was like you had Marillion, IQ, and Pendragon, and Solstice in the 80s, but there was no female singers really.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So we came out with this, and she's a great singer. She's an absolutely amazing singer. And then it did really well, and the first album sold, and then it was like, oh my God, we're gonna have to play this live. People were saying, come and play in our festival. And I was like, oh my God, it was only meant to be an album, a one-off album. And then we ended up going down to play in Baja down in Mexico. That was our first gig, and it went on a storm, and it just took off then. And we ended up making, I don't know, 10 albums. So
believe it or not, before we start going into Magenta question, I of course within Cyan you play with very, very good musicians, you know, Luke and Dan, of course Pete Jones that I interviewed from Cam as well a couple of times. And very good people. Pete is a very good, decent human being. I love the guy. He's a very humble guy, and with all his limitation, you wouldn't know that he have done everything I've done. Unbelievable. Sometimes I look at my own problem in my life and I say, man, what the heck? If people can do that with a loss like me, what's my problem, you know?
No, that's the thing with Pete. He got such a talent, but I will only work with people that are nice people. You know, it doesn't matter how good they are. I would rather work with someone that is not as good as someone else if they're a nicer person, because you've got to get on with these people. And having someone who's a pain in the arse in the band it's horrible. I can't have it. So I will search out lovely people to be in the band. So, and the other thing, I'm a massive, for me, with music, the vocalist is everything. The singer is everything on a record. The singer is the most important thing. And in prog music, lots of people get that wrong. They think that the guitar solo, the Moog solo is the most important thing. You know, the singer is just there to fill in. And it's so wrong, because the singer connects with the audience. And, you know, so you've got to have a great singer, and you can't cheat it. And so many prog bands, they go, it doesn't matter if the singer's not that good, as long as you got this 100 miles an hour whittle, and it doesn't work. Especially, and I think for me, the best bands have got the best singers. You know, you listen to Genesis, you know, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, Pink Floyd, they've got great singers and great melodies, and that's the two things. So with Magenta, I believe I've got one of the best female singers. And with Cyan, I got one of the best male singers. And I am blessed to have that. But it's so important. Without it, I'm nothing. Do you know what I mean? I can make as good a record. I can tart it up and throw the kitchen sink with production. But if the singer is rubbish, forget it.
It's not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You're.
Get it.
Well, you work hard. You are lucky. I don't know. Maybe luck is not the best. I suppose you were in the right place at the right time. You have like a vision and a good strategy. You know how to what it sound like, and you find the right personnel to help along to form the project. You know, it's no question about it.
Well, that was it. You know, because I'd known Pete for like about 10 years now. I've known Pete. That I run a label that puts out his solo material, the Tiger Moth Tales and stuff, and we put that out. And I've been helping him, and I avoided recording anything with him because he was so busy doing Carmel and his own stuff. I didn't want to add to his already bonkers schedule. And I thought, no, I won't have it. And then someone said, oh, look, just try him on one track on the Cyan. Because the Cyan, as I said, was re-recordings of the earlier stuff I'd written in school. And I'd re-recorded them without the vocal. And they just said, oh, look, just try him on one track. So I phoned him up. I said, look, just try it. See what it's like. And the moment I played it, I went, that is incredible. You know, this is it. I've got to do it, and people love it. They absolutely love it. It's different to Magenta, which I like, and it allows me to do these two projects, which I love, with a female singer and a male singer.
Well, good for you. Let's talk a little bit about Magenta. Your second album, 7, was released in March 2024, and sold out of his first pressing within 3 weeks with the single Broken. That's a masterpiece album. I mean, it's great. It's great.
It's straight, because that is our best-selling album, 7, and it's the one everyone loves, and I've tried to recreate, you know, what I did on that record, and you can't, you know, and it's like,
no, of course not.
I think we were lucky, because I did the first record where there was like, I didn't know if anyone would like it, and then the second one, I thought, God, everyone really likes it. Let's go. And there was an innocence on it, an innocence of writing, and it's very optimistic as well. The music is it's not like doom and gloom. It's optimistic prog, you know, and it just connected it with everyone. And then, you know, you're trying to think, oh God, but I also like each album to sound different. So when we did 7, the next album was completely different, and then the next one we went to a different direction. But that's the one that everyone likes, and it's just I don't know why. It's some great songs on it, but there's an innocence in the writing. I'm not so. I think as you get more fans and you do more, you're always sort of second guessing. You know, what do the fans want? What do the reviewers want? And there's a bit of that goes on. And what have I done before? I don't want to repeat what I've done. So there's a lot more rules when you're writing. When I made that record, there was no rules. I just made it, and you know.
As a band, I suppose you don't want to recreate the same thing, because then the second album will be very similar to the first, the third to the second, the fourth, and so forth. You want to have a solid base, and you know we are aiming to do this type of music, and you are evolving. With perhaps some musician leaving and going, like, you know, it's part of life. And but you know, having the same success criteria for creating music, and you know, improving, changing, and touching different things, and you know, it's great. You know, all the bands need to evolve over time, you know. So
it is that, and I get bored very easily doing, you know, you make a record, you're like, at the end of it, it's like, I don't want to hear that kind of music anymore, or at least for a year. So I like to go and do something else. So I do Cyan, I do Magenta, but I've also got all my solo stuff, which is completely different again. The sort of Mike OLDFIELD inspired solo records. And I made like an electronic record. But it's nice to go somewhere else for a year. Because when I make a Magenta record, by the end of it, I never want to hear prog with a female singer again. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've got to sort of rest from that, clean my musical palette, go do something completely different. So when I done that record, I'm sick of that, and then I think, you know what, I really want to do that now. I go back to that.
Yeah, what's the motivation inside yourself to cap, you know, 3 different bands, you know, with 3 different style of music project, and say, you know, you wake up in the morning one day or 1 week and say, man, I'm tired of Cyan. I want to do my own music, and I want to start playing with this guitar riff and drums. And how's the process? How's the motivation, and how's the intellectual process for you? It's you're in the car driving with your wife and kids, and you listen to a melody, you write it down, you go home, or you
no, it's I love being in the studio, and where you can see this place, you know, and there's a drum room and all my guitars and stuff there. And I'm very lucky to have a setup. You know, when I was 18 or 19, I never dreamt I would have this kind of gear. I can make a record here every day. I can come in, make a record, put it out, and people will buy it, you know, and which is an amazing situation to be in.
Cool.
So, but I get excited every day coming in the studio. I love the process of I never cease to get a hit from hearing the layers going on and the creation, you know, coming out of the speakers. I'm making a record. I love it, but as I said, I get bored if I do one style. I think I would go mad if Magenta was my only band, and I look at other bands people who are in one band and I just do this, you know, and again, God, I would go. It would drive me potty because you've got to have a release, and there's so many styles of music I like. You know, I like prog, but I also I love ABBA, I love ELO, I love Supertramp, I love anything with a song and a great melody. So I'm like, I want to do a bit of that. I want to do a bit of this, bit of that. And if anything, I see myself as a producer. You know, I love producing music, and I love sort of it's just the excitement of creating. And I just come in and I just noodle. And I got my phone, and on my phone there's a little recording app, and I could just be playing any guitar, and I think, oh, that's nice. There's a nice couple of chords, record it, and then come back and then go through all my little ideas, and they become songs, and away we go.
People reach out to you for help, like as a producer, because you're multi-instrumentalist, you have 3 different bands. People reach out to you, man, I really like your albums. I'm starting out, you know, can you provide some feedback, you know?
It's really weird that, you know, but 20 years ago, I did a lot of session work, playing keyboards and stuff for albums and stuff, and I say all the TV stuff and the film stuff. But these days, everyone has got a computer. And they all think they can play a piano, do you know, because they can plug it in one note at a time. That'll do. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the call for a real piano player or keyboard player, because everyone just does it. They do their demos, they keep the keyboards on there, and then they put live guitars, and you know, you don't get a feel. You can be able to play it properly on a piano and stuff, which I love playing. But I don't know. I got so much I want to do. I would get distracted, I think, if someone said to me, oh, you know, come and make my record for 4 months. It's like, oh, my God, do I really want to do that? You know, even though I get paid. And I did a lot of stuff with the, because I do a lot of 5.1 surround mix, which seems to be in vogue. You know, the 5.1 surround remix and stuff. You know, lot of bands like Yes and Genesis have had all their back catalogue remixed in this surround, and I got involved in that a bit, doing a few bands. But actually, some of the Renaissance stuff, I was sort of looking at that, doing some of that. But I just think I didn't really enjoy it, because for me, it's already been done. To be honest, those records sound as good as they are. You know, if you try to remix it, you're never going to get anywhere close to. It might be clearer, it might have more separation, and you know, but it doesn't. You can't compete. You can't mix a record on a laptop or on an Apple Mac, where the original record was recorded on a $200,000 mixing desk on 2-inch tape. And, you know, with amazing speakers in the studio, and the band were there and they knew exactly what they wanted. So I did a couple of remixes of this Renaissance stuff, and I just thought, it doesn't sound as good, anywhere near as good as the original. Why am if I get paid for this and put it out, I'm cheating the audience, because it's not as good. It's not as good. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I hear a lot of these remixes coming out, the 5.1, and I go, okay, it's nice and clear. You can hear everything. But it's nowhere near as good as the original. The original might have been, might be a bit rough and ready and a bit sort of muffled or whatever. But the vibe on it, the way it's been mixed, because that's what the band wanted. So there's a lot of money to be made with all this remix stuff, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't get it.
Yeah. You remind me a little bit of Steven Wilson, that he has like 3 different bands, and with No Man and Porcupine Tree, and he keep on doing the remixes. I mean, he's very good at what he does. I mean, you know, some people have the ability to do that.
He does it, you know, and it's very lucrative, and the record companies make a lot of money from it, from repackaging it. but I don't think they're as good as the original records. You know, I like listening to them. All the Yes ones he done, I like listening to them because I can hear all how clear. You know, there's nice and clear. You can hear everything. I think, oh, that's really nice. With like Relayer, which is one of my favorite Yes albums. I love Relayer. And I put on the remix and I thought, yeah, it's really clear. I can hear everything. I can hear what everyone's singing and all that. But then I put on the original one and it went a little bit more muffly. But what a vibe. What a vibe on it. What a power. And it was like, you know, so, but yeah, you know, and I think going back again to the Steve Wilson thing, and, you know, to be able to earn enough money from doing progressive rock or anything, any music, you know, it's really hard just to do one project.
That's right.
Financially, you've got to have 2 or 3 because you've got to be able to release at least 2 or 3 albums a year to be able to have a life to pay, you know, to pay the way. So I can do a Magenta there, and then I can go and do a Cyan later on, and then I can do my solo, and then I can come back and do a Magenta in 2 years' time, and it all goes. And then the back catalogue and stuff, you find new fans who go back and buy all your back catalogue. But you know, I know how lucky I am, and I thank everyone that buys my music. You know, there's a massive thank you because it allows me to do what I do. But then I see it. It's like it goes back to Mozart's time, where you'd have all the rich people being patrons and giving him money, you know, paying it to allow him to compose. And for me, it's a deal I make with these people that I will give everything to the record, and I will make sure that it's recorded properly with proper drums and proper mixing and mastering and proper strings and everything. And I will do it to the highest in return for their money, you know, and I will make it as good as I can. And we have this agreement, which I love, and hopefully they love. People know that if they buy a record I've made, it won't be recorded on a laptop and thrown together with synth drums, or, you know, it would be done properly to the highest level, and which you've got to earn that reputation, really, which hopefully I have over the last 20 years. But I'm very lucky. I keep on saying
I imagine that you have a very loyal fan base going to Bandcamp and buying your album, as you know, supposed to Spotify and Bandcamp. As people, if you don't know, the company only take like 10%, and the 90% go to the musician. And every so often they have like a Friday, you know, all the money goes to the musician. That's a very good model, you know, and people in some cases pay as much as you can. Some people can pay $1, some people can pay, you know, $10 or £10 or whatever, and it's go back to it's
brilliant. I think Bandcamp is the best. It's a fantastic business model because, as I said, you take a small percentage, you get paid straight away. Because I'm not a fan of all the streaming, Spotify, Apple Music, all this stuff. I'm not a fan of it. I hated it. The moment the day Spotify launched, I remember saying, "That is it. We've had it. That's the end of it." When you can pay like a $5 a month and have every record that's available and listen to it as many times as you want, it's just natural. Why would you go and pay £12 if you can just play that album and again and again and again? And it's all this nonsense of, they'll discover my music and then they'll go and buy it. Rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. The only people making money is Spotify, and they are screwing and destroying the industry. That's all they need, and that's all they need to do. They need to charge a small fee for every time you play the album again. They should not be able to dip in and play an album 1,000,000 times. And lots of people come on to me and they're like, "Oh, why can't we get your music on Spotify?" You know, I'm like, "But you don't buy any of my records, so you want to go on Spotify and have it for nothing? How am I to pay the bills? You know, how do I pay the string players? How do I pay the bass player? It's not free."
Right, yeah. Of course, yeah.
You've got to have
people nowadays want everything for free, you know.
Well, it's totally.
Book online, and you know, it's crazy. You know,
it's bonkers, but with the Bandcamp, it's a place where if people got more money, they can pay extra if they want. That's great, fantastic. Again, it's part of the patronage that they know that all the money I make, because it's all I do all day. I don't go on holidays, I don't go around. I make records out of the money. The money goes back into the business. So, it's a strange place at the moment. And I think the whole Spotify argument is just grim. I think it's really hard. And because it's hard enough anyway, because, the price of a CD is less now than it was 15 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're paying like $10, whatever, for a record. 20 years ago, it was $15 for a CD, and people complain. And I'm like, I've spent a year and a half making that record. You're moaning about paying $10. You pay that on a coffee. You're going to Starbucks or you buy a pizza. And it's like, pizza is gone. But I'm giving you something I've worked 60 minutes worth of music that you can love. And it's all wrong. And then when you try to charge more, people go, oh, no, you can't do that. I can get it. It's free on Spotify, or so-and-so selling their record for $7. And you're like, oh, no. It's, you wouldn't do it with paintings and stuff. The people, it's a different world, and the music has become so cheap and disposable. I'll get off my soapbox now. I'll rant about it all day.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Now, in my case, like I told you before, I have a big music collection, about 10,000 between CDs, Blu-ray, vinyl. I have a furniture there on the right, but I have 4th floor full of music, and I buy a lot of music on a monthly basis. I see close to 50 shows a year, so I support the art. I know how it's like.
And that's brilliant, and that's if we want music, and if you want the next Yes and the next Genesis and the next Close to the Edge and the next Fragile, you're gonna have to invest. People, you can't make those records easily and cheaply. You can't do it. You've got to invest in it. So
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to music. So in 2004, you released another great album, a live album, Another Time, Another Place. That was recorded in Europe from 2002 to 4. What's the idea? So you at the beginning with Christina, you said, well, we want to do like a studio band.
Yeah.
The album did okay, and I suppose that the record label put a lot of pressure on you. No, you need to go on the road. We need to sell more records. You need, and you guys, it was in your head back then. Were you kind of forced to tour? You wanted to tour? You needed to record a live album?
No, well, I run the label, so it was only me. I run my own label, so I'm signed to, and again, that's another argument in the story, that I like to look after what I do. And no, it was just, we were just offered these gigs. We didn't go looking for it. And again, it was a different time then. There weren't loads of festivals, there weren't loads of gigs to play. And we did the Baja one, and then we did the Ross Fest, we did that, and the Near Fest one. So we did quite a few American ones. But it's part of what we do. And I think, if anything, I think Magenta sound better live. I love making the records and everything goes into them and all the detail. But then the live band we got, as I said, Christina doesn't come from a prog background. She doesn't know any prog. She's a punk. She did punk music with us, the Sex Pistols. That was her background. She had no idea Yes or Genesis, Pink Floyd, Camel. Really? Yeah, so she had no idea of it whatsoever. So when she'd be doing all these interviews and be going, what do you think about the latest Flower Kings record? What do you think about the latest Dream Theater? I haven't got a clue. She didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But where we benefited from that was when we played live, most bands took it all so serious, and the same with the guitarist, Chris, who plays in the band on all the records, because that's basically Magenta. It is me, Christina, and Chris Fry, the guitarist. That's the core of the band. And Chris and Christina both don't come from prog backgrounds. So when we went to play the live gig, all the other bands were playing and they were like looking at their shoes and everything was serious and, you know, doom and gloom. And we'd go on and Tina would be jumping around and the guitarist would be, and it would be smiles. We'd all be laughing on stage and like enjoying it. And the audience loved it. And that, again, was another reason why Magenta took off, because we were different to every other band. We didn't take it that serious. Musically, we did. But well, there's no point in being on stage if we can't enjoy it. So we did the gigs and, you know, we did really well in all the festivals and, you know, we do gigs to this day then, really. And it's always the same, you know. I'm not a big fan of playing live. I don't like all the traveling. But once I'm there, the gigs are great. And I enjoy myself, you know. I want to be smiling on stage. I don't want to be looking around and everyone's miserable.
Yeah. And nowadays, as you know, right, I'm not telling you anything new. Many bands are forced to tour a little bit, you know, because the money is there and, you know, fewer and fewer people, you know, buy records or CDs all over the world. And with the Spotify argument and people download the stuff, the only way you put an album out, I don't know, it costs you $20,000. The only way you can record the money is you need to tour and you end up selling T-shirts and meet and greet and, you know, signs vinyl at the end of the show to record that investment, you know, so you're
well, it's all that. We do a lot of that where, you know, we put on a special show which is going to cost money, but I know that we can film it and put a DVD or a Blu-ray out of it, and I will make the money back to pay for the shows, the big shows. And we've done that quite a bit of late. And, you know, again, I like doing that because it allows me to spend a lot more on the show, and we can get extra players in like flutes and oboes and percussionists and stuff. We bring them all up to have a bigger band playing live. Then we film it and we put it out as a Blu-ray, you know, and that pays for it all. So it's all part of the process now. It's all changed.
Yeah. Got it. In your fourth album, Metamorphosis, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. A little bit of Kafka book that I read many years ago, and that's a great album, man. And it's one of my favorites. I don't own all your stuff, but about half your stuff, and that's an album that I always go back. I listen to. You know, I don't know. It brings me a lot of memory from my childhood and great music.
No, it's a good album. That was definitely going somewhere completely different. Yeah, because we made about 3 albums at that point, and I thought, right, I want to do something really. Actually, we played Nearfest in America, and we were the wrong band because like Magma were on the same bill, and we were playing all this sort of happy prog, and I thought, oh my god, we're not in the right audience here for our stuff. And I thought, the next record I make is going to be really hard and sort of angular and complicated. And that was Metamorphosis. I thought, right, let's make a hard record now. Let's go somewhere completely different, a dark. And I was, you know, but a lot of people loved it, like yourself, you know, and people went, wow, you know, that was really good. So, you know, it was nice to go somewhere different, but that did really well. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, no, it's a very good album. Some year later, 2009, you performed an acoustic concert at you know, Peter Gabriel Real World Studio near Bath. Feel free to elaborate how how difficult it was to put together and how you're able to, you know, do that at the Real World Studio, which is I've been there a couple times. It's unbelievable place, man.
Oh, it's lovely. The atmosphere when you walk through the door is brilliant. And no, we did a lot of house gigs where me, Chris, and Tina would turn up and just play. I'd play the piano, she'd sing, and Chris would play like a classical guitar. And we just thought it'd be great to do a gig with like a string quartet. And it shows how good the songs are, that they will actually work. They're proper songs, you know, with melodies and chords. And I love any opportunity to play like a grand piano, because playing these synths is horrid. There's no feedback, but playing a real piano is, I love doing that. So we just arranged the songs for the string quartet, and real world seemed the place to go, really, the only place to do it. And it was fantastic. And we've been back a couple of times and did a couple of shows there and stuff. It's great.
It's expensive to rent the place for, X number of hours of a day and use the main area there.
Yeah, it's changed. I think when we went there first, it was very much welcoming you in and let's make it all work kind of stuff. But now I think they can see they can make money from it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more expensive to go there, and it's charging by the hour. Everything is an extra charge.
Yeah,
and it's a bit more corporate. Whereas when we went there first, it was lovely. Everyone was like, "Oh, they're coming in and do it," and it was a really lovely vibe. So it's very expensive at the moment to go back in and do stuff. We go there every so often, record and stuff, but it's quite expensive.
Yeah, nowadays a studio need to be run as a corporation.
Yeah.
X number of dollars. You need to pay the recording engineer, somebody to clean the place, keep the instrument up to date, and they're different. At real world, they have different rooms, and and it is expensive. So for many people, unfortunately, could not afford doing that kind of stuff. But it's a great place to record music, and some year later, you end up releasing another great album called 7, the instrumentals, and 210, I believe it was, 7 and 27 down the road. Feel free to elaborate how they came together, changes going over time from the 4th album to the 5th and the 6th.
Yeah.
Feel free to elaborate on that.
As I said, I just get bored. So every album goes in a slightly different direction, really. And I don't know, it's whatever. It's whatever's going to be, whatever's different to the one we've just made. So if we make something that is really sort of retro prog, sort of very sort of 70s based, then the next one I want to go somewhere else. We're like Metamorphosis, which is quite dark. And then we made one then with shorter songs. I thought it'd be nice to make an album, instead of having 20-minute songs, we'd have like 5-minute epics. And we did an album called Chameleon. And that was all short songs. And then the 27 Club, that was going back to sort of prog, classical prog and stuff. And but every album's got like a concept as well, with the 27 Club was based on all the people that died at 27, like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin. So that was the concept there. And I like to work with a concept. My brother writes a lot of the lyrics. So we always like to, I like to hang all the songs on a concept on a record, really. So the 7 album was like the 7 deadly sins, and each was about that. But it's, each album develops, and as I said, there's different players on it, different drummer, bass player will come in and we'll do something different. And, we've been going like 20 years now, so you're trying to keep it fresh all the time, and the last album we did, the Masters of Illusion, that was trying to go back to the 7 kind of vibe, sort of classical and all that kind of stuff. But I've done that record. So with the next record, I'm just waiting for the idea to pop into my mind. I'm not sure which. I need to come up with a direction and a sound that excites me, and then I'll go make it then. But at the moment, I'm like, nothing there at the moment. I'm like, okay, I'm just letting it, taking a bit of a rest, doing the Cyan album, which we're finishing at the moment, the new Cyan album. That'll be out in November. And then I'll have a look at some new Magenta stuff then.
Yeah, that's perfect. And in terms of your creating process, you and your brother kind of grow 70% of the stuff, and then you call the rest, you call Christina, you call the other guys, okay, this is like 70% down, let's get together for a week or a weekend or whatever, and let's try to polish it up and then finish the other 30%. That's the way it work, or
no? Well, it's with technology has changed everything. Like back in the 70s, you would do that. You demo, then you get all the band together, rehearse for a week, then go in the studio and record it. But it's a completely different way of working, the way I work anyway, I will demo the song. I'll put a rough drum machine on there. I'll play the bass, put a guide. All the guitars will be in place. A lot of the sort of melody guitar parts will be there. None of the solos would be there. I'd mark them, play some rubbish, what I know is going to be. And then I'd write the melody. I'd have no words. I would just sing any words to get the melody down. So I've got this, I know what the song's going to be like from a drum, bass, vocal. And then my brother would write the lyric to my vocal line I've written, singing any old rubbish. I will take his lyric, then I will demo it with the proper words. And then I give it to Tina and go, right, learn that. And then she comes in and sings it properly, basically. And it's the same with the drums. I'll go like to the drummer, use the drum part, learn something, learn a proper part for it, make up a nice part for it. Same with the bass. But it's what we never get it. We never put, we're not all in the same room at the same time. I will record the drums on his own to like a really rough backing. And then the bass player will come in and play to those drums 2 weeks later. Then the guitarist will come in and play to that. So it's not the best way of working. It's convenient, but I think what they had in the 70s, where everyone would be in a recording studio looking at each other and playing, like, yes, you could hear it. They are playing in the room together. But that's very expensive. It's hard to do. I think that's okay if the whole band is doing music 24/7, like Yes were, they were paid to be that band, then you can go and spend 4-5 weeks, track laying and learning and in the studio. But I can't do that. It's really hard to get everyone together. And I like to be able to use the studio as a compositional tool as well, so that the drummer puts his parts down, the bass player's got it. I'll have it all there, and I'll go, right, what do I like and what don't I like? And if I don't like something, I'll just cut and move and rewrite bits. Do you mean? And then, so the demo could be completely different to what actually, I might use the drums and get rid of everything over the top and write a new song over it. So, wow. But it's all changed. Or I might, put the melody on and Tina sings. I think, oh, well, it's not a very good melody. Let's write something new. So I use technology, and if people could see how brutal I can be, with the music, how you'll cut bits. But for me, I don't like any sort of fat on a record, anything that is not of a good. I think you've got to be hard on yourself when you're self-producing to go, like, that section is rubbish. I need to make it better. And technology allows you to do that. Whereas Yes and Genesis, they were stuck. Once they recorded that record, you couldn't do what I can do with technology now. Do you know what I mean?
Totally, yeah. Back in the day, it was a lot harder. And I know exactly what you mean. You mentioned touring a couple of minutes ago. It's there. You finish a record with Cyan, and it's the plan for 2024.
Yep.
Tour with a little bit of Cyan and Magenta both, or
no, it is. I think we've done about 3 gigs with Cyan. We finished it. The first record came out, did really well because of the lineup. And I knew that live it would be spectacular, with Pete singing, Luke playing guitar, me playing keyboards, and the drummer and the bass player. And we played in Lorelei in the night of the Prog Festival in Germany. We did that like 2 weeks ago. And that was the biggest gig we've done. And it went really well for us because the band is so good. And Pete is such a brilliant front person, gift of the gab is the way he communicates with the audience. He's fearless. And we were doing the gig, and it's like 2,000 people, and we playing, and Luke's guitar breaks. And I thought, oh shit, here we go. And like Luke runs off with his guitar, and like there's silence. And I whispered in Pete's ear, I said, Pete, I said, sing Genesis, Ripples, do a version of Ripples by Genesis. Oh, okay then. Singing it, starts playing it. 2,000 people are singing Ripples, you know, and opposite, and then the gig goes up a gear. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's like, it's amazing. And then what I didn't realize was in the wings, because we were playing with Nick Mason, Saucerful of Secrets, the tour. Yeah. They were headlining, we were on before them. But their manager on the tour is Tony Smith, who is Genesis's manager.
Of course, yeah.
And he was in the wings, and he saw Pete singing Ripples, and he came on to him after and said, I can't. He said, what a great version you did of Ripples. He said, you know, Phil Struggles doing it live. He said, you know, Phil Collins, but he said, you sang it amazing. He said, you're brilliant.
Yeah.
Pete was like, beat up. But having that in your armory in a gig is brilliant, you know. So it really works well. You know, people love him, and he's playing saxophone, he's playing guitar, and then you got Luke, who's an amazing guitarist. So the band is great. So again, lucky to have that band and Magenta, so I can go to shows with them and then do a couple of shows with that.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking maybe you should do that on purpose next gig and do you know, I Know What I Like, or you know, Sabbath Ready or something.
Well, that was it. You know,
in between 30 seconds here and there.
You know, Luke was distraught. Luke was broken. He hated it because his guitar broke. But I said to him after the show, I said, look, that made the show. After that, we were flying because everyone was like loving it, and the fact that Luke came back on and played, and by the end of it, they were going mad. But yeah, so you know, it's a great. So I think next year is going to be really busy. See, the new album is finished. Sounds amazing. That's coming out in November. And then we're looking at gigs for next year with Cyan. Then that's big part of it.
Any possibility of coming here to United States to play? It's very expensive for you guys, right? You need to pay a visa.
It's a nightmare with all the visas and stuff. But yeah, I think we would look at it. I think because I wanted to do a second album. I wanted to get 2 albums under our belt before we did it. Before we did a lot of gigs. And I wanted to work the band to make sure that was going to work, and it does. So I think we will look at next year. I think it'd be nice to do, I don't know, Ross Fest or a festival or something out in America. And I think we are, you know, we haven't done it for a while. I haven't been over and played there a while, but we could look at that. And there's like the cruise to the edge. There's that as well. You could do that. Yeah. You know, we could look at that or something. But yeah, hopefully.
Yep. Over the years, you guys received many awards, like first best live gig, the best band, the best album, best female vocalist, and you go back one day. I mean, you look back at your life and say, "Man, I was, you know, a kid that couldn't stand still when I was 14. I put that, you know, 4 tracks tape, and look at." Right now, I can play all over the world. I can play with the best musician. I hang out with the best musician. I have an unbelievable studio home, and your life is like a miracle in many ways, man.
It's mad, and you know, it's not all plain sailing. I think, you know,
of course, a lot of hard work, but
there's a lot, and there's a lot of things going wrong. You know, I can write a book. I could write a book on being in a band, and you know, dealing with members of the band and people that leave. There's always there's always personality clashes, and there's always, I don't know, there's always something. But I do try to keep on telling myself that I'm lucky that I do this 24/7, that I'm in charge of what I do. There's no one above me giving me grief. I do it, and I'm very lucky to do it, as I said, with the studio and everything. But you know, it's hard. It is hard work, and I do overwork, but I love it. I just can't get enough of it. You know what I mean? And I'm working all the time. I work every day. I'm in here every day. And then in the nights, I'm running the record label. And there's definitely down moments where I think, God, I wish I had a job which I didn't have to worry about, you know, when there's like deadlines and things go wrong. There's a lot of that, and a lot of like, I don't. This is quite a. I'm being quite open here. I think that every musician is never completely happy with what they've got. I look at people and I think, God, you know, you should be really happy that you're there. And I think everybody wants more. I don't know if it's, I don't know, it's not an ego thing. I think it's just, I think you want people to enjoy and get what you're doing. You want that feedback. You know, when someone buys a record, you get an email saying, "Oh, I bought the record, I love it." It's not massaging the ego. It's making all the hard work worthwhile. So the more people that listen to my music, I think I'm always searching for that. I think I'm always thinking, right, how can I get my music in front of more people? And I think that bands who are further down the ladder from me and bands who are much further up, they're never happy, never content with what they've got, because they always want more. You know, I think Steve Wilson is a prime example. I think I look at him and I think, my God, you've got everything. You know, you're top of the tree. But then I still think that he wants to be famous. He wants, like, he sells loads of records, but he's not recognized on the street. Do you know what I mean? And some people want that. He's like Phil Collins, or, you know, could walk down the street and people go, "There's Phil Collins." If Steve Wilson walks on the street, he just walk. No one know. Very few people would know who he is. You know what I mean? So I think, and I think that I think, oh, you know, you've got everything, but then everybody wants more, and it's a strange artistic thing where you want more acceptance. And the amount of people I speak to that other musicians, and all the conversation is about how can you get more people to listen to your music? Because it's really strange, and people spend so much time doing that. And I know what I do. I'm like, right then, I know how can we do it? Can we make a better video? Can we do more on Facebook? So it's a strange one. So on half of me, well, more than half of me is like, thank God I am where I am, you know, and I'm grateful every day for it. But then there's a little bit of me goes, oh, I wish I had as many people that Marillion have listened to the. I wish I could get in front of all them, put them in a room and say, you are, listen to this album now, you know.
Sure. I suppose that on one hand, yeah, you want to have a bigger audience, put more stuff on social media, sell more record, you know, be in the cover of prog magazine. But then you cannot have a normal life.
Yeah.
I suppose that you are, I don't know.
No, that's true.
Tony Banks or Phil Collins, Peter Piero, they cannot go and see a movie. Something simple.
No,
you want to go to a restaurant with your wife on a Saturday night, you get your buddies get a couple of beers or go catch a movie with your wife. You cannot do that.
No, I agree. You know? No, that's a good point. Thank you for that. You're my psychiatrist now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right. You want to make money and be happy and sell, but then you know, the fame stuff. No, I not even that. I mean, even if you something simple, if you go, you know, go to Starbucks, get a cup of coffee, your wife, and you leave a tip of $1 or $2, whatever. Somebody will take a picture. Hey, Phil Collins is cheap. He only, you know, give me $3 some tips instead of 10 because he's a rich guy. You know, if you become famous, everything is look under the microscope. That's microscope. So it's not good to be famous, man.
No, I always say I do. And I think the other thing is, I think if you do have that kind of level of fame, and you got that kind of money, why would you get up in the morning? Do you mean, for me, I'm like, I get up, I still got I still want to climb. I want to climb, but then at the top, they're coming down the other side. And I think that's got to be equally as bad to come down the other side where you were famous or you were you know, Genesis were massive in the 80s.
Yeah.
Massive. But now it's like, you know, they're coming down the other side now. It's like, and Phil is not well and stuff. So I agree. There's the grass is always, you think the grass is greener on the other side.
On the other side, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think I should, and I am. I will write that down. I'll write a big thing by saying, I do not want to be famous.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the other thing is that social media, and people spend so many hours on social media and Instagram or Facebook, or it's a psychological thing.
Yep.
You can write most the stupidest article in the world, in the history of civilization, humanity, the stupid article, and people want to be participants. Say I like. They haven't even read the stupid article or the stupid picture, and people want to be participant without even reading the article or commenting.
Oh,
society imposes, hey, you need to be part of something without even thinking if it's good or bad. I don't know.
No,
I don't know to which extent social
it's
media
horrible.
Network, you know,
It's horrible.
life, if you will.
Yeah, and it really plays. Cause I get it. You know, I'll go on social media and I'll see another back, because people only, as I said, people will only post great things or inflate how good things are. So I go on. I think I might be having a bad day in the studio, like, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I can't come up with any tunes. Then you put on social media and you're like, so I got this fantastic news. Oh, it's all happening and it's all going crazily brilliant. And you're like, and I get it, and I see my kids get it, you know, and everyone gets it. You go on social media and you read down, and by the end of it, you're like, oh my God, my life is shite. You know, my life is rubbish. So I desperately try not to read it, because it's just warps your brain. It makes you feel so inadequate. It's terrible.
You need to. I'm a kind of a little bit selfish in the sense that whenever I'm a computer scientist and I'm a scholar, nothing to do with music, like I told you before. I try to do my best in everything that I do without thinking about how many people will like the interviews or reviews or in my work. I'm happy with myself, independent of everybody else. You know, I kind of try to look myself in the mirror. Well, try to be a good husband, a good dad for my son, and the music thing, and interviewing people all the world, because I really enjoy that. I don't care if 1 million people, watch the interview or 10 people watch the interview. I do it because I like it, independent of the opinion everybody could have about that. Plus, the other thing, I do this, as I told some musicians in the past, the kind of the channels becoming a little more popular, and it generated profit. And I always say at the beginning, every single dollar that the YouTube channel generate is going to a charity, is going to be going to a local hospital. I don't make any money. I want to make money.
No.
A musician give me like an hour or two of your day to do that.
Yeah.
I do because I'm passionate about music. No.
Yeah. That's good, and I think that's the way to be. And having done music for 30 years, I know that the best music I make is when I don't give a shit about everyone else.
That's right.
Myself. And when I try to please someone else, it's rubbish. I can hear it. It's terrible. It's when my heart is in it 100%, and I don't care about anything else. That's when the best music comes out.
Absolutely. I have only 2 more questions. I know you're busy. You need to go back to work. The live album, Reaching for the Moon, April 2023. I think it's available 4 discs, 2 DVDs, 2 CD. That's a masterpiece, man. I don't have that one. I was listening to that one on Bandcamp late last night, and it's very, very good. Very well recorded. The set that you pick, and it's great. You're very good at what you do, man.
Thank you. Well, that's what but there's no excuse, to be honest. It should sound good. It takes a lot of work and a lot of gear, but you got to be brutal. You got to compare it with the best. You think, right, does it stand up against the Genesis record sonically, playing wise, song wise? Does it, and you got to be harsh with yourself. you know, and that's what we try to do. And with the live stuff, that was a great gig, you know. And I said it was a lovely set of songs, and
yeah,
we had the extra players. I said, you know, with the oboe and the flute and things, and it's really good. And you know, it's what we do. I think, as I said, I keep on saying I'm lucky to have these players. I surround myself with the best, and that's what you know, and that's what you got to do. They make me sound good as well, which is great.
Feel free to mention your website, your Bandcamp channel where people can buy your music.
Yes,
for you.
Just type in Magenta progressive rock, you know, and it all comes up. It's all there, all our history, all the videos, the Bandcamp website. You know, it's all available and stuff. So, you know.
Right, man. Good. It was very nice talking to you, Rob. I will send you a separate email because I'm interested in buying some music from you, and where the you know, Christina, yourself can sign the
sort that out for you.
We'll work it out. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck with
and you
and the tour and the album that you finish, and hopefully we'll see you here in America next year. If not, I will try to fly to Europe. I go to London very often to see bands. So we'll get a cup of coffee, a beer, and
I'd love that. It'd be brilliant. Let's do that.
All right. It was very nice talking to you, man.
And you as well. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Okay.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
No problem. Sure.
Bye. Bye.